Well, first I want to say thanks for having me because, yeah, it's a long time coming. We've been meaning to do this for a long time. And I'm John Goncalves. I represent Ward 1 in the city of Providence. So that's the neighborhoods of Fox Point, Wayland Square, College Hill, the Jewelry District, and downtown. And I'm a Providence guy. I appreciate Providence. I love Providence. This is a city that I grew up in, city that I was born and raised in. Shout out to Fox Point. That's where I grew up. And I'm just fighting for the people. That's what we do.
100%. So John, right? John made a controversial post June 1st, Bhad Bhabie, and the internet has eaten him up locally. People are voicing their frustrations, right? And like I told him also, I personally understand that there's a lot of more important and significant issues locally happening that we've highlighted here that people should care about more, but they might not have as much as a feedback and outreach and outcry on social media to the level that they did with this. And in my opinion, I think it's because people of Providence really care about the culture of Providence, and they care about the name Providence. Anything that gets Providence attached to it, if they feel like it's misrepresented, they go off. Like, we're very passionate people about our city, about our name, our reputation. We're very passionate. The most similar thing to me that came off the top of my mind was, like, I remember when the mayor announced the first time the changes to PBD Fest. And I was talking about it. I was calling him out. I'm like, I don't agree with these changes. Online, it was the same level of, like, outcry. People were like, oh my God, like, why would they do that? They feel like there's something that is misproperly representing them. Same with the Bhad Bhabie citation, right? And to some extent, I think it's definitely getting blown out of proportion. But people have the right to their opinion. So now we have John here responding. So what is your take and what is your response now to the people of Providence after facing the backlash from giving the citation and also the post of the citation and everything that's followed after?
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. And at the end of the day, if you go to my Instagram, John G PVD, I actually put together a video to explain it. So at the end of the day, promoter calls me up and he says, yo, I got Bhad Bhabie coming into town and I got another artist coming into town too. Can we get them citations?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't listen to Bhad Bhabie. I don't rock with Bhad Bhabie. She's not my cup of tea. I'm a Providence guy. So at the end of the day, Bhad Bhabie does not resonate with me. I grew up on Jay-Z, Nas, Dipset. You know, the things that resonate with people in Providence are the same things that resonate with me. Like, if you're listening to Gunna right now, I understand that. Like, I understand hip-hop culture. If you listen to Thug, if you listen to Dolph, if you listen to Glorilla, right? Like, I think these are people, like, when you think about Memphis, for example, these are people who are doing great work in their relative markets, and they're actually putting their cities on the map. That's the way that I look at my relationship with Providence. How do we bring our artists together so that way we are putting them on a map and also giving them the platform to blow up and also show what Providence is all about. And at the end of the day, when it comes to, I'm going to go back to the citation, told me to give her the citation. It was actually interesting because I think the second artist, her name was Anna Mac, maybe.
Okay,
it was that same weekend.
Okay, yes.
So I actually have the citation. I can show it to you.
Show us. You have the Anna Mac one?
Yeah.
Let's see the Anna Mac. Anna Mac is
actually
from Baddies. She's from Baddies.
I never gave it to her because I couldn't make that one.
Okay.
So here it is, right?
Anna Mac. Yep.
So basically the way it works is when someone wants a citation, they'll reach out. I mean, like, I just had a principal of an elementary school reach out to me today and say, hey, I want you to speak at the graduation. Can you give the fifth graders citations? Right? So I then call up my office and say, hey, I've got a list of kids that I want to give these citations to. And then in the city of Providence, it's called the clerk's office. So the clerks put together the citations, you know, they put the Post-it notes on it and all that 100%. Stuff. And then we bring them to the event. So he asked if I would do it, and I was no skin off my back, like, sure, Like she's showing Providence love that night. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a citation. It basically said, "Thank you for coming to Providence. Thank you for touching down in our city." And he was like, "Oh well, like come to the show." Shout out to Culture, Jermaine. That's where they were having the show that night. There were about 500 people there. And again, it's not my scene. I don't resonate with her music, but there were clearly 500, 600 people from Providence who rock with Bhad Bhabie.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yo, just give it to her on stage and just say, like, thank you for coming to the city of Providence. She was so touched by it that, in fact, she posted it on her social media. And I'm not sure how many followers she has, but I think she has, like,
I think millions.
Couple million.
Yeah.
So it instantly went viral. And, you know, she said, like, thank you with, like, a heart emoji or something like that. And then everyone was like, what? Why would you give a citation to Bhad Bhabie? You got so much talent in the city. How come we haven't gotten our flowers? And me being a real Providence guy, I was like, wait, hold on. Because, like, people like to judge. They like to come up with their own conclusions about what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I got the receipts. I can pull up every single citation I've given. I've given hundreds of citations at this point, and I've given a lot of artist citations as well. Even locally. I mean, like, so when people are like, how come you didn't give one to John Hope, or how come you didn't give one to Ty Cooper, how come you haven't given one to, I don't know, DJ Ruckus or, you know, DJ Franchise, how come you haven't given one to Nice Hits, whoever it is in Providence, right? Like, and I know these guys. I've known these guys for years because I'm a Providence guy. And it's like, well, actually, we have given one to John Hope. I just gave one to Ty Cooper.
Yeah.
I mean, I can run down the list and talk about all the artists that we have given citations to. And I'm so plugged into the culture that, like, I can tell you that I know about people like Euro, and I know about people like, you know, even if you go way back, you know, Young Jinsu, for example. Remember when he was popping?
100%.
Jay Deuce, right? Like, so you're gonna get a lot of people who come at your neck, and then they're gonna say, how come you haven't given us our flowers? But it's like, no, I have been given flowers, and if you haven't gotten your flowers yet, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I posted, because I knew it was gonna rub people the wrong way. When I reposted what Bhad Bhabie posted, I wrote in the comments, and this is probably why it also went viral. I was like, list 50 artists in the city that you feel like we should be giving flowers to.
Yeah.
People who've been in the city doing work for a long time, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and people who are doing recent work. So look at D Gomes, look at Cam Bells, look at, you know, King OSF.
Yeah.
And this is kind of interesting to me because a lot of people will write Bhad Bhabie off and say, this is some culture vulture. She's she's the girl who's on Dr. Phil, Catch Me Outside. But if I applied that same logic to, let's say, people who had a rough childhood here in the city of Providence, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to write them off because they had a rough childhood or they had tough circumstances growing up, then wouldn't that defeat the purpose, right? Like, imagine how many people, like, really come from the mud in our city, and they're trying to do the best that they can creatively to get their music out, to touch people in their lives, and people rock with it, right?
Yeah.
And just because they're, let's say, rapping about a specific topic, or they're making music that might make a certain group or faction of our society feel uncomfortable, does that mean that is wrong?
Yeah.
No, I would venture to say that that's who we are culturally. And when we think about things like PVD Fest, I actually think PVD Fest in many ways isn't really reflective of Providence. And the reason why I say that is because we have so much talent, specifically on the hip hop side. But how many of our own artists have the opportunity to rock that stage? And how are we putting our own artists on as a city? Because I would venture to say that it's very much it's very much, I want to be careful about how I say this, but I would say watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say King OSF, right? If he wanted a PVD stage, and I'm an elected official, I'm a part of the institution of the city of Providence, right? So you might say like, what? Well, how come you're not using your voice to make that happen? Because there's a lot of decision makers. I'm not the sole decision maker. I would arguably say, the mayor and the director of ACT, like they are the final decision makers when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I'm in the legislative branch of government, not the executive branch. And I would say that a lot of people might say, oh, well, that might make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. So maybe we should go a different route or do something that like families are going to really enjoy in Providence. And I get that too, right? We have different demographics, and we should be ensuring that we're reflecting all of those demographics, but we shouldn't also hide the things that make Providence what it is. Providence is a majority minority city.
Yeah.
I think the people who are living on the south side should have just as much culture reflected in a PVD fest as the people who live on the east side. And I represent the east side. And the reason why I can say that is because I'm a real Providence guy. Like at my core, yes, although I represent a very affluent neighborhood and I represent a constituency that's actually majority white, I can be in the room and have these kinds of conversations because like I went to Providence Public Schools. Like I know these people, and I know what Providence is really made of and how vibrant of a city we really are.
So, John, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you believe that the mayor of Providence cares about black and brown culture and art?
That's not for me to opine on. I think it goes back to I don't make this the same way that I wouldn't appreciate people making judgments about me, which is what a lot of people did, right? Like I had a lot of people in the comments from Burville and Newport and all these other cities and towns saying clown, cornball, and I was like, what? I'm from Providence. Like if you're from Coventry, don't tell me about hip hop in Providence. At the end of the day, but I'm not here to judge anybody, right? I think if you just, and maybe this is just like my training as not only as an educator, but as someone who, like I went to Brown for undergrad and grad school, and one of the things that I studied, was education and human development, and one thing that always stuck with me is the fact that we all come from different cultural and social contexts that make us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you grow up in an inner city, in an urban neighborhood, your worldview is going to be vastly different than someone who lives in suburbia. That doesn't make your perspective any less valid or more important than anyone else. It's just you're both exposed to different cultural and social backgrounds that make you who you are.
But John, this is my problem with this situation.
Yeah.
If I read between what you're saying here, it sounds like it's the mayor's decision to allow certain things to happen at PVD Fest on an executive level.
Yeah.
PVD Fest, for those who don't know, is a major thing for artists. It allows them to be showcased and allows us to bring certain artists because they have a massive budget when we're talking about that event. From what you're saying, it sounds like it's the mayor's decision. The mayor is not putting on people of color on the scale that a lot of people feel like he should be. This is something we vocalized for many years. And to top that off, the mayor has recently been getting backfire because he tried to remove an entire skating park to expand what center was it? It was a performing
Trinity Rep.
Trinity Rep, which is it's run and it frequents a lot of white people, affluent people. So it leaves us to assume this guy doesn't care about us. And it sounds like you're kind of saying that. You just don't want to come outright and say it, that he is not in support of this culture.
I won't. So the reason why I'm approaching it the way that I approach it is because people make a lot of assumptions about the decisions that we make as elected officials.
But beyond you, I'm talking about the mayor.
Yeah, no, but I'm getting at that. Yeah. Our jobs are very, very complicated. We have to make a lot of decisions. Okay. And I don't think people really realize, you know, we're operating a $624 million budget.
Yeah.
People don't even know what a council person does. Like, if you want to really know, it's like I probably work 24/7, like 80, 90 hours a week reading documents. Look at this. Like, I have it on the table, right? Like, we're going through a budget season, and it's not that simple to just say like, oh, well, you know, a person feels this way or this way, because I don't really know their heart. Now, can I say I disagree with some of the decisions that other elected officials make? Absolutely.
You disagree with the mayors?
So I'll give you a perfect example. When the mayor, and I actually, you know, I bit my tongue on this for a long time, but then I eventually was like, there's too many people out there who were talking about this, like moving PVD Fest, right? Like that was a perfect example. If it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? And why would you move something that's been successful? And why would you change that? And I have a relationship with the mayor. So, you know, if I needed to like get that off my chest, I could just pick up the phone and say, Mayor Smiley, with all due respect, I disagree with this decision.
Okay.
And that's the thing, right? Like some people approach things very differently. There's some people who will be on Twitter and tweet. To me, that's not an effective strategy, right? Because if I can just pick up the phone and call you and say, I don't rock with your decision, I don't need to publicly blast you about it.
Of course.
And I think that you got to pick and choose some of your battles, right? So it's like, if there's something that I really don't like, look, I've got a listserv with 20,000 people on it. Every time I send out a newsletter to my constituents, it goes out to 20,000 people. And I state what my opinions are. So if I disagree with some of my colleagues or I disagree with the mayor, I let it be known. Perfect example is I don't support property tax increases right now. And the reason why I say that is because you've got a lot of people who are elderly on a fixed income, because I'm from Providence and I know that, like who let's say bought property in Fox Point or anywhere in the city, and they're getting priced out of their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That literally there are so many people in our city right now who are being gentrified. The housing crisis is real. And my job is to figure out what are the policies that need to happen in order to rectify some of the challenges that we're experiencing as a city. And that's because I care deeply about my neighbors. I want to make sure that, you know, that elderly person on a fixed income isn't priced out of her property. I want to make sure that, like, the people who I grew up with in Fox Point who are been long gone and displaced from that neighborhood, they have an opportunity to, if they're still in that neighborhood and they're like hanging on by a thread because property taxes keep going up, that we protect those people, but also we're building more affordable housing. We're holding developers accountable to building more affordable housing, so that way we're addressing some of the issues that are plaguing our city. And my lens on this is, I came from that world, right? So like, I grew up in a single parent immigrant household, right? Like my mom had to work really hard, sometimes 2 to 3 jobs. There were times where, yeah, we were on things like food stamps and, you know, had to rely on things like Section 8 housing, right? And that's a real experience for a lot of people in the city. And this goes back to like the cultural and social like lenses that you bring to the table. Like the reason why I fight so hard for people in our city is because I understand what that's like. I understand what it's like to go to bed hungry and to suffer from like food insecurity.
Yeah.
Right? Like I understand what it's like to have a whole community completely gentrified from that community, because every single person that I grew up with, whether they were, Cape Verdean, Portuguese, or Irish, the immigrants in my community that I grew up with, they're completely gone. Like I'm literally like the last, I'm one of the last people standing.
Yeah, and John, and this is my thing. I fully understand what you're talking about. For people who don't know, I was the field director.
Oh,
for
yeah,
campaign.
and actually, can I give you a big shout out for this? Because like this dude, and this is real Providence, right? Like we used to call him and Jason Royce the Dragon Slayers.
God bless.
Because no, real talk. Because and this is where I give so much credit to even a guy like him, because like I wouldn't have been in my seat if it weren't for like this guy.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate
that. Like the number of doors that we knocked. And even in my first election, right? Like we won that race with 60% of the vote.
Yeah, because the other two candidates were a joke. God bless their hearts.
No. But
we worked hard.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, don't forget what we were up against, right?
Yeah,
we were up against a real estate, a real estate guy in like a business investor who owns like nightclubs in the city.
And they had a lot of money. It was 30,000 between the two. But this is my thing.
No. They outspent us 4-1.
Yeah.
No, we got outspent and outraised 4-1.
And I remember,
and we won with 60% of the vote. But the reason why we won with 60% of the vote is because like we're really out here, right? Like the people in my community know who I am.
Yeah, but John, this is my thing. I fully remember when Nasty showed up to your event, your fundraiser event. Like
Jay Nasty?
Yeah, you are from
Shout
the
out
community.
to Stay Silent, by the way.
And this is my thing. We don't have to go like I know what you are to Fox Point. I know what you've been to Fox Point. My thing is this. Let's talk about what you are capable of doing.
Yeah.
The legislative branch. Yeah. You help decide the budget. $1.8 million of the budget going solely to arts and tourism. This is what John brought so we can see. And 30% of that going to salaries is ridiculous and it's offensive. And this is why I'm frustrated with a lot of the people on the internet who are saying, oh, I should get a citation or this person should get a citation. That is such a low bar for you to be asking for. That is not enough. This is a disgusting budget. You should be getting tax credits. You should be getting money from the city. And it is people like John who I feel, and it's not just you, I love the council. I know a lot of people in the council. I think a lot of you have not done anything for arts and tourism. I think a lot of you have not done enough for the city when it comes to this subject. And my question to you is, how do you justify this? And how do you justify what you and the rest of the council have done in this conversation? Because a lot of people on the internet are asking for citations, but people who are actually in the field and watching this, because I had a conversation with a local rapper about this a couple of days ago. He agreed with me. We need to be advocating for money, for spaces, for resources, for a larger portion of this budget.
But that's why I'm here, because look, a lot of politicians, when they get heat, they don't try to engage the community. Yeah. They double down and they're like, I made the decision. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. What I did was very differently. I was like, okay, a lot of people in their feelings. I get it. I know why people are salty. A lot of people are salty because they feel like they haven't gotten their flowers, but also because they feel like a city hasn't invested in them. And I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So if I were in the executive branch of government, I would do things differently.
But what would you do as a legislator?
So as a legislator, I'll tell you what I already do, right? Like I've been the lead sponsor on dozens of pieces of legislation, right? So like pieces of legislation that I've passed, last fiscal year I brought $40 million back to my community.
But I mean,
hang on, but
arts and tourism.
All right, but like that is part of arts and tourism, right? Mm-hmm. Like one of the line items that I was able to bring back to my community was $2.2 million of investment to India Point Park, right? So when Jay Nasty and Sabrina and Stay Silent do their events at India Point Park, They don't have to deal with like all that dusty like the rough patches down there in Indian Point Park. We like completely paved that, made it ADA accessible. Everyone in the city can benefit from that as an amenity. $1 million to Cabral Park. We brought $650,000 to Gano Park. $30 million to Vartan Gregorian Elementary School. That's my alma mater. So you're talking about real resources.
Yeah.
And that's my job at the local level. My job is to bring resources back to my district to make sure we're building parks, playgrounds, we're improving the quality of life for the people who live in those neighborhoods because we want everybody to thrive. And that's what I do as a legislator. So we're responsible for passing a budget.
Yeah.
But I also I write laws. So like again, dozens of my laws are on the books because I'm a very active policymaker. When it comes to arts, culture, and tourism, I would agree. So like if it were up to me, if I were the person who was solely in charge of PVD Fest, and again, I think the legislative body has some authority in this, but really it comes down to the executive branch of government. What I would do is I would have like 5 or 6 different stages, hip hop, rock, EDM, pop, something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's representative of Providence, right? Like not everybody listens to the same kind of music. Not everyone likes the same kind of format or genre. And what I would do is I would actually try to monetize it so that we're not just taking a loss as a city. Because right now, and this is part of the problem with PVD Fest, is we pay a lot of money for police detail, fire. So it's basically, because it's bringing in tourists, we generate some revenue on the back end, but we don't charge for ticket fees or anything. So we're not like most of it. Like we're eating, right? Like we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on a production, and we're not like no one's paying for it. But I think like we could replicate a South by Southwest where we bring in really big artists like a Future on the hip hop stage, a Gunna on the hip hop stage, Lil Wayne, J. Cole, whoever you think it should be, right?
I think Lil Wayne would make perfect sense because we have Euro is Lil Wayne's artist.
Yeah, there we go.
Euro's from Providence. He can make that connection, get Lil Wayne here.
Yeah.
So what could
hang on?
We also do have the new stadium that got built in
exactly
Pawtucket.
Well, we want it in Providence, right? So this is where we would advocate for Providence, but
the South by Southwest will be like a multi-city
thing.
You know what I'm saying? Within the same state.
So how do the people of the city get this to happen?
Well, so let me get to the second phase of that, because I think like imagine if we had those big headliners or those big artists come into our city, right? Yeah. That puts Providence on the map. How many people go to South by Southwest who aren't from that area, right? Like they're getting regional dollars, they're getting national dollars. But I think the other piece is, instead of having those artists be the last to perform, I would actually have them open up for the artists that we're trying to put on in our city. And you know what I would also do, and this goes back to like my connection to like the music industry and all that stuff too, and understanding that industry, I would call up. Because if you're a mayor, you have a lot of, or just like, elected official in general, like you could probably make a lot of things happen. I would basically direct my staff to say, all right, I want us to call as many A&Rs that we can from the music industry. Universal Music Group, let's get Warner here. Let's get, the subsidiary labels, Atlantic, Republic. Let's get all these labels. Let's get A&Rs into our city. And let's have them watch the talent that we're bringing into our city. Just think about what that would do for the city of Providence. Because if we get one person to pop, whether it's flawless, but like really pop, like I'm talking like Taylor Swift pop. Where we get someone who becomes a national, international sensation, that's good for Providence because they're going to, in their music, probably mention Providence. Like when you think about Dolph, when you think about Glorilla, when you think about Gotti, when you think about...
Yeah, they have a big regional push.
Yeah, but those are all artists from Memphis, right? So when you think about Atlanta, T.I., Outkast, you're talking about Thug, Gunna, Migos, right? Future. All those artists could say, like, that's where I'm from. You build that ecosystem of really talented artists, and when they make music and when they pop, what do? They put other people on.
Yeah.
Thug put on Gunna, so on and so forth, right? Gotti put on Moneybagg Yo, you know, Glorilla, for example, who in her songs will say, you know, I'm from Memphis, what you know about me, right? I want that for Providence. Imagine people saying like, I'm from Providence. What you know about us?
But this is my frustration, John. I agree with what you're saying, but it feels like the city is just talking because you're saying all of that.
Well,
but there's no spaces.
I'm only one
You're
person.
only one person. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying in general. The city talks very big about the things they want to do, but there's no money, there's no resources being backed by that. At the end of the day, this is a capitalist society. That is how things move. So you're not going to tell me that you value me as an artist and you want to cultivate a space for artists, but you are giving tax breaks to multi-billion-dollar corporations that have no relationship to this city because you think that they're better business partners than the people who have been giving to this city for the last 20 to 25 years through their art.
I 100% agree.
So this is my frustration. It's like, what are the tangible things we can do to create an environment where people can actually come, cultivate, create, and actually try to build up artists that they can put on, and we can have that type of culture like you have in New York, in Memphis.
I agree. Also, but we didn't even talk about New York too. Like, think about everyone who came out of New York. But so, and New York's right there. Like, even artists who are coming out from Boston, like Millie or like.
So how do we make that happen here? That's my question.
Joyner, right?
Yeah.
Like, so this goes back to like, because you showed this earlier, and I think that I'm so glad we're having this conversation because this is what I want. What I want people to know. I want people to be educated. If we brought the same kind of energy that we brought to the comments about Bhad Bhabie getting a citation into City Hall, I guarantee you things would change. Right now we're negotiating the budget. So basically, the way that works is, and I'm on the council leadership. So like we sit down with the mayor. And we have conversations about what are our priorities as a city, what do we need to spend our money on, and we negotiate that.
Yeah.
Actually, and it's the council. The council holds the purse. So it's similar to Congress where it's the legislative branch of government that controls the purse, and it's the executive branch and also makes the laws. And it's the executive branch of government that enforces the laws, but also carries out what's in the budget, and the staff kind of report to the executive branch of government, but we all work together, right? Like if I needed someone to fix a sidewalk or fill a pothole, I call up the director of DPW and say there's a constituent who has an issue on my street, and like then they take care of it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how government works. But I think to your point, the people who show up end up getting the resources. So I sit on a committee called CBDG, and this fiscal year, we issued $5.1 million to various organizations across the city of Providence. $5.1 million. That's not chump change. That's a lot of money.
It's more than that budget.
It's so yeah. So but it goes to various organizations in the city, right? And they go through a process. So we had tens of millions in requests, but we had to basically make a decision about which organizations would get this $5.1 million that we need to allocate. And of course, we give it to organizations like Amos House. We gave $150,000 to an organization called Design X. And that's actually a space that cultivates creatives and artists in our city. But these are organizations that have executive directors that know how to work government. They know how to lobby. They know how to make calls to their elected officials and advocate for whatever it is that they want. They know how to, do all the paperwork that's required to be a part of that process. And I think this is where we as a collective, like, if we don't like how things are going, we can't just, use our energy for trying to throw shade at, like, oh, well, I don't think this person should get it. Like, that's in my opinion, it's like a bunch of, it's not the mentality that we should have, where it's like, I guess, like, I don't want to say this personally, but I like someone just mentioned, like, it feels like just like this crab in a
barrel mentality.
In a barrel mentality. And I don't want to say that because I know, like, Providence is better than that, but we have to unify. Like, if we actually, and this is why, like, I don't understand why people aren't more actively involved and engaged in their politics, because if they don't like something, or if they don't like their elected official, they could easily vote them out.
No, listen, I agree with that.
Again, like a minority city.
Yeah.
The problem is there's so many people who don't exercise their right to vote. The problem is when we're having deliberations about our budget, we're just hearing from
lobbyists.
No, not even lobbyists. We hear from mostly white, affluent individuals who know to go to City Hall and testify for whatever it is that they're trying to advocate for. Our community, and I get it, right? So our community very much feels, and this is where we have to do a better job in government too. There's so many people in our community, particularly communities of color, who feel like City Hall, the State House, that's not for me. And I get that. If you're working 2 to 3 jobs, you don't have time to go to City Hall to testify about, this thing or that thing. You're just trying to put food on your table. But I think that's where government could do so much better. And I think it is our responsibility. We have to meet people where they are. So if that means, like, we're on Broad at 2 o'clock in the morning by a chimney truck because that's where people are, then that's where we need to be. We can't expect people to go to City Hall when they're already so inundated with everything else that comes with their day-to-day life and the day-to-day struggles of living in inner city like Providence.
Yeah.
They don't have time for that. But as a result, the people that we often hear from are the most privileged people, and the people who we don't hear from are the people who are a part of our community, and that really saddens me.
So what can we do to hear their voice? Because this is my thing. If you're aware that there's barriers and there's obstacles for them to come out and speak to you, how do we go out and hear their voices? Because they're clearly upset with you about the decision you made.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. When I first seen it, I'm like, I get why this is corny, but I also understand you're trying to create.
I think she's corny too.
Yeah,
like,
but
and by the way, she followed me on Instagram, and I still posted that because I don't.
You follow her back, John?
Do
you follow her back?
Yeah, I follow her. Well, she followed me first, and I was like, all right, whatever. So
you followed her back?
She probably, but she probably saw it. If she unfollows me, like, I don't care, because, like, I don't listen to Bhad Baby. Like, I'm not.
Because of the post and everything.
Yeah. So
well, for an update, also, Bhad Baby did leave a comment on my post yesterday. So she said that she loves Rhode Island. She said, I love Rhode Island.
dope.
So that's a Bhad Baby message, new update from Bhad Baby. So she's saying, basically what I'm taking from Bhad Baby's response is basically like, hey, even though people might be upset or also might be questioning my love for Rhode Island, she just stated she loves Rhode Island. Because there are some people that
I love that.
could care less about the city. They're just here for the bag, etc. So she's trying to say, like, hey, she actually appreciates the fact that she even got acknowledgement. Even if people like me still disagree with her getting that citation, they she is reminding them like, hey, I love Rhode Island, though.
And that's why,
because she probably was just innocently looking at it from the perspective of like, hey, this is the city I'm performing at. They're showing me love. Not every city does this for me.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, this is fire. I, like many people, was looking at it like, hey, especially I'm more tapped in, so I know she releases music. I know she's an artist, but objectively speaking, most people know her from being disrespectful to her mother and going viral because of Dr. Phil. So they see her, they're like, oh, that's the Cash Me Outside girl. Why is this white girl who disrespected her mother and went viral and became a multi-millionaire and has
Can I say something about this real quick, though?
But let me say this
so
real
I don't
quick,
forget.
just to get it out. And then also they see it, they're looking at it from that perspective, and then they see her receive this award, right? And it's just the optics completely.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking,
Agreed.
race alone, you see this white girl and this black man that represents the city. It just looks like, wait, what's going on? So that's where the outcry
It's
is.
a disconnect.
So the disconnect happens there. So I think that it was a mistake. It was a mistake that you shouldn't have done because
I
because
apologize
of just the
for
optics
that too.
of it. Because the optics of it in general, it gives off something that I'm hoping and I'm praying that you aren't, obviously a representation of, because you've said and you have given proof, and I know this, you've awarded citations to people from this city already. The same people that people were tagging in the comments, oh, give an award to this person. John has done this already. Along with other council members, they have given these people, these artists in the city, citations. Now, everyone wants one, etc. That's a different conversation. I feel like there needs to be qualifications. It can't be just because oh, I make music, I should just get one.
Yeah.
And I'm from here. No, that's not.
And can I talk about that
shouldn't
too?
be the point of this at all.
So you're raising so many interesting points and making me think about so many different things. So with regard to the citation, again, it was no skin off my back. If you were offended by that, seriously, like, and you're a real Providence artist, I apologize. I can be vulnerable enough and take 100% responsibility because you're right. She's like, if we were ranking her with other like hip hop artists, like she gets an F. Like I'm okay with saying that. If she watches this too, like I'm fine with that. And I'm not, no disrespect, right? Like I just personally don't rock with her, but there were 500 people at that show who were really excited and when
sold out.
And when we gave her the citation, those people were like, wow, that's amazing. She also felt really appreciative of the gesture, and that's a good thing because when she comes back to this market, and I like, if we want to get deep, right? I know Craig Kalman, who's the CEO of Atlantic Records. I'm a Brown alum. Craig Kalman, look him up. He's the CEO of Atlantic Records. The CEO.
And she signed to Atlantic?
She signed to Atlantic.
Okay, yeah.
So like Craig Kalman's a power player in the industry. I've known him for like over a decade. So like if you're trying to get signed, like I know some of these people, right? Like Avery and Monty Littman, look them up. Republic Records. Like these are executives that I literally have, like I can pull out my phone right now. I met J. Cole like 10 years ago. I'm not even kidding you. Like I can pull out my phone right now.
Yeah.
Like I have Cole's number in my phone. I like and like I got receipts. Like you could see, look.
But John, this is where
am I making this up?
No, I understand.
No, look.
But John, this is where I get frustrated with you.
Me.
You have all this understanding in the industry, these connections. Why are we not doing more for the city when it comes to this type of stuff?
So let me finish. I think where I was gonna get at is when she comes into this market, or just is in the area, or any artist for that matter, even if it's not Bhad Bhabie, let's just remove her from the equation. My goal is that they say, you know what? We usually go to New York, we go to Boston, we go to maybe Connecticut, we skip Providence. I want her to say, you know what? Or anybody for that matter.
Yeah.
That city showed me so much love that we can't skip over them. We need to go back there.
But do you think a citation is the right thing? Because you did it with Boss Man, it got outraged.
Yeah.
I think that
Well,
People are
but it's the
upset.
same thing for that. And actually, it was the same promoter that asked me, like, yo, pull up and do this,
Yeah,
right?
for context, for those who don't know, Boss Mandilo, rapper Boss Mandilo, came to the city and performed, and he received a citation from John because he says the promoter also connected him to, he wanted to give the Boss Mandilo citation. Did everyone that night get a citation? I think so. Like 41, the group received the citation.
Yeah, we gave all of them citations.
Glorilla received a citation, and Boss Mandilo received a citation.
And by the way,
but Boss Mandilo, real quick for context, one went viral because he posted it on his story after someone tagged him saying, I think one of his boys or someone a part of the crew was like, he got the key, he got the key to Providence, right? But it was just a citation. So then people posted everywhere, oh my God, Boss Mandilo got the key to the city of Providence. Why? What the hell's going on? But then that also goes back to the misrepresentation as far as the optics, right? Boss Mandilo probably didn't know what the fuck he got.
He didn't.
So that's the problem. So I feel like there should be a case where like it shouldn't just be about like handing them it. It's like, hey, breaking it down. Hey, this is this means that. That way they don't leave with the impression of like, oh shit, I got the key to the city. Because even Bhad Bhabie, she's probably never gotten a citation from any city. Maybe her own city that she's from.
Yeah.
So she gets it from here.
You're
she's
right.
looking at it like, what? Oh wow, like I love Rhode Island. I got a key to the city from Rhode Island. I got an honor to Rhode Island. But then it's like, no. It shouldn't be that. I think the solution here could be, like I told you on the phone, off record, I think that there should be something that gets created that's separate from the citation.
I agree with
where
that.
it's like a tourism
I agree.
award or a tourism bracelet or something that maybe is similar to like a key. It doesn't have to be a paper.
I was talking.
It could be
I was
something
talking to
else
Ruckus
where it's
about this.
created and it helps the city. Like if someone comes through and they perform, John or anyone that represents the state, someone that works for the state can go and give this to this artist and they get this, right? And it could be innovative, right? It could be done in a unique way where Providence stands out. It could be a cool design. It could be something that's so unique and different, and it helps the tourism, and it separates it from the citation. Because a citation is an actual piece of paper that people can apply to their resumes, etc., and it helps people's careers. But then when we do it in a surplus, and you do it with this Bhad Bhabie, Boss Mandilo, and then Boss Mandilo says he thinks it's the key, it starts diluting it, right? It starts diluting it.
I agree with
and
that.
you handing them out along with other councilmen that do this.
And to be clear, I
It's
am
a part of your job.
selective of like, because again, I have to call the clerk's office and say, these are the citations that I want.
Yeah.
So if someone, I get probably hundreds of these requests, and I turn some of them down. I'm like, no, right? Like, so I agree with that. But yeah, to your point, we should probably maybe do something different so it doesn't dilute it, but it also, we're not comparing like local and national and other talent because yeah, you don't want to dilute the value, but hopefully this does add value to it too, because it's like, okay, like if a large artist gets it and I get it too, then it's something that's very meaningful, and it is something that's meaningful. You put it on your resume, like it's an important.
I just think
thing.
it has to make sense. Like we've said before, like if it's an artist that comes here, frequents a lot, you know, and they have a relationship with this city, like DMX would always be seen.
Someone said like
in Kennedy Plaza, walking around.
Fab has like
Fabulous
a residency.
Yeah, Fabulous
here in
has a residency here. Basically, he's always in Providence performing. A Boogie with the Hoodie's always in Providence performing. Like these are artists that I can guarantee you know what Providence is. They've met Providence. You know, they might have partied with some Providence men, Providence women. Like they've actually put their time and energy into the culture of the city. I think it could make sense to give it to them rather than just Boss Mandilo's first night here, Bhad Bhabie's first night here, because it gets misrepresented. Right? It's completely taken
or it should
out.
be something completely different.
Or make it something completely different.
And
I
you know,
think I can help.
Someone was
I can
saying
help
like
making this.
you should get him a gift card to Providence Place Mall.
That's stupid.
It's like I
fine.
don't know
I
about
can
that,
make this happen.
but like,
and also to coincide, I personally do agree, and I felt this way where, again, we love the city, we love our culture, so we are very vocal whenever we feel like something fucks with it, right? And I understand that. But then a lot of you out there who leave comments on things like this, please do your research. I want you all to be able to name your representatives, your council members. I want you all to rally up and actually vote if you disagree with people.
And go to City Hall.
Go to City Hall.
City Hall.
You know what I'm saying?
Attend city
Like,
council
If
meetings.
do
you
your
want these
research.
dollars,
And for context, John, for example, How many people voted for you to win your last election?
Our last election,
It was like, well,
probably like over 4,000 people.
don't use his district as a measure. They vote.
Oh no, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is 3,000 or 4,000, right?
Yeah.
People. How many people, let's say, attended the Bad Baby concert? You said like 500.
Yeah.
Right. Like how many people probably were at the AMP center for the state arena for the Glorilla Boss Mandilo concert? Probably. What, like 10,000 or so?
Yeah, exactly.
Like triple that amount.
So if those people exercise their right to vote,
you guys can vote. You can vote for John. You can vote for someone else. If you didn't like if you didn't like John doing this situation with Bhad Bhabie, you know, and you want to vote him out, technically you can. Even though I would recommend you to not let that be your only deciding factor. Do your research on things that affect people day to day and what they actually have going on, because I think that there is a problem with that, where the negativity is louder than everything else, right? People highlight that the most. And I understand it because, again, Bhad Bhabie, what, Cash Me Outside, how about that? Her? So I get that. But let's use this moment as a moment of holding ourselves accountable as people from the city in the same way we feel about him and this one decision he made with this. Utilize that energy and focus it now into actually applying it to educating yourself. Do you know your city reps? Do you know your district? A lot of people don't even know what a district is. These are significant things that need to change. And I if you guys have never voted, I recommend I recommend you to do your research locally and vote, especially locally.
Mm-hmm.
I've always told people this, right? You want to, the big parties, you know, this is a blue state. Okay, I get that. But if we're talking about on a regional level, especially for specific decisions that get made, there's literally things that you can vote on that they literally ask you yes or no. And if enough people vote yes, it goes yes. And if enough people vote no, it goes no. That's how regional and how strategic these voting things are. When you go and actually vote locally, you see these things, but people don't know that, or they don't get reminded of that. So I'm always here to remind you. And let's use this moment as a moment to educate ourselves, because there's no progress in just bashing John forever because of things like this. Like, let's actually, he's a council member. Let's actually work with him and other council members and create dialogue and create conversations and create change. You know, a step forward could be something as small as that, but it still would be effective. I'm telling you right now, because people care about this culture. If you do some shit in Providence where it's like people come here and you do like a tourism award or a tourism acknowledgement that's separate from a citation, you create something differently, that is going to be extremely helpful. I can just see that.
And let's take it a step further.
I love
John,
that. I love
as
that.
a legislator,
I love that.
would you be willing to introduce legislation that creates something like that for people who are coming in to perform? And are you willing to introduce legislation that actually provides legitimate resources as an attachment to an award given to artists in the city? Because if you introduce legislation like that, I promise you, we will support it.
Oh.
We will promote it, and we will tell people to show up to whatever meeting they need to show up and support this bill.
I love that. So I think we should continue to talk about what that looks like. So one of the things that I've talked to people about, and it's as a result of all of this, and I'm actually really grateful that I think we've learned so much in this process, and all the feedback that we've gotten from people is exactly what you're sharing, where this helps us to figure out what do we do from here. And I'm actually so glad that this got so many people's attention, because we're engaging in this conversation. Now, I could have just said, look, my constituents don't really care about this issue.
Yeah.
Because they don't, right? And the work that I'm doing for my constituents know, right? Like, I just introduced an ordinance that's like a $6.2 million bond that's going to impact, like, my constituents, right? And, like, I know how to bring the bacon back to my ward. I know how to get results for my constituents. But I would say, to your point, one of the things that someone recently brought to me, and this is why I was just at an event with people.
Yeah.
And the difference between maybe me and some other elected officials is, like, they'll make you go through the 2, 3, 4 secretaries that you have in the office.
Yeah.
And you can't even access them. When I'm at an event, I don't care who you are or like or what your status is, I'm like, here, like take my number, let's be in touch, and like give me feedback about the things that you want to see.
So John, how can we help?
Built on a, so let me,
how can we help you to legislate? That's my question.
Yeah, so
how
let me get at this. Like this is a great suggestion. I'd be eager to like float more of these ideas, and maybe your audience will like in the chat or whatever give us some more ideas. Someone was like, all right, maybe we should create like a panel of people who have like legitimacy in like the space, right? The hip hop space or like whatever artistic space. And those people can help curate like the 50 people that we recognize. Cause like what I want to do is I actually want to bring like 50 creatives together and like give them their flowers and their citations. But for me, I think it has to be more than that. It can't just be like a piece of paper or citation where we say like, here, like this is a great accomplishment. I think we need to put resources and our money where our mouth is. So what that looks like for me is, do we put on like a unity concert where, because I get that there's a lot of competition in the space, and like if you're you're not a part of the 50, you're automatically gonna be salty. You're gonna be like, how come they didn't recognize me? What do you mean, right? And there's a lot of
that's another thing.
There's a lot of ego that's involved.
We can never, no matter what, we can't please. Also, everyone can never be pleased, no matter what, because it's just, at the same time, if a certain amount of people get selected to be honored locally, local artists, there's still going to be a bunch of other ones DMing, leaving comments saying, hey, well, what about me? What about me? What about me? Right? And that's another thing where we also, I think qualifications and actual like things that people need to like accomplish.
And this is what the panel would do.
Yeah, I think
that would be kind of
awesome.
like remember, I don't know, what was it, the Source or XXL? Remember they used to come out with like their top like
I think you mentioned it to me, but it's
artists.
XXL freshmen. They do the XXL freshman list every year.
But that would be dope. And I think like we have to get out this mentality that like because someone else is winning, that is our loss.
Yeah.
I think that we should be happy for anyone who's doing well in Providence, anyone who's being successful. And I get it, right? You might feel like, what do you mean I didn't get my flowers, or I've been putting in work for so long? But at the same time, this is where we need to unify. I'm all about unity. I'm about bringing people together. So if you want to throw shades in the comments, like you can do whatever your heart desires, but how is that helping us get to where we need to be?
Yeah.
And how is that productive? So if you have genuine ideas, you know where to find me. I would love to engage in these conversations. And I think if we can, here's what I envision, whether it's the PVD Fest or another venue where we bring together these 50 artists and like they put on a hometown concert, like to the point where I was like, I've been thinking about this so much that I was like, you know what, I'll call like Gary or like Frank Manfredi. Like downtown's in my district, right? Like they own the Strand. And I was thinking like, should I just call them and just say like, would you be open to this idea? They have a venue.
Yeah.
And like, this is the other thing that people need to understand. Government touches every facet of your lives. When there's something bad that happens at a nightclub, guess who shuts it down? Government. Yeah. When there is a permitting issue, guess who approves that? Government. So what separates like a Stay Silent, International Nasty, Sabrina, and like the people who want to do these things is their relationships with government.
I understand that,
John. Like they can pick up the phone because they know how to navigate the process. And if you're trying to learn what that process is, call us so that way we can say, oh, like, you want to do something at India Point Park, or you want to do something at this venue or this like city-owned thing? Like, I'm a Providence guy. I want to help people in our city. And that's the fundamental difference. Like, they know the process. And I'll tell you another thing, right? You know how many calls and emails I get from my constituents when you know, they're doing a Stay Silent event at India Point Park, or like when the Puerto Rican festival is there, Dominican festival, anything culturally happens there, I get hundreds of calls and emails. And you know what they're saying? John or Councilman, the music is just way too loud. And for me, it's like, okay, this is where like my Providence comes in, because I'm like, first and foremost, this is a one-day event. The second piece is, I understand it's loud, but it's not like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, this is it's loud, but like it's only for a couple hours, and at the root of it, we're celebrating our culture and we're bringing people together,
community.
And frankly, as an elected official, I could shut that down tomorrow. I could say, nope, I don't want to have, my constituents are complaining about it. They don't like the music, and I think part of that is, you know, there's some racial undertones to that. So I do think that, like, okay, that there's an inherent difference when they don't like the music and when they do like the music, or if it's like the seafood fest versus like whether it's like a hip hop concert, right? Like, or if it's like, you know, fireworks in India Point Park or the Dominican Festival, right?
Yeah.
But there's no reason why we should shut down the Puerto Rican festival or, like, you know, Day Trail because they don't like the music. Because at the end of the day, even though it's not maybe like the East Side cup of tea, or it's not, my constituents don't necessarily love it, it's Providence.
But John, this is
it's precisely who we are.
Yeah, but this is the difference between gentrification and stopping gentrification. I'm asking you is, how do we legislate this? Because you're not going to be here forever.
That's
and
true.
neither is the members of your council. I can build whatever relationship I want.
That's true.
You are a part of the legislative body, and I want to know, how can the artists of this city legislate it so we're not only supporting the artists here for a long period of time and they're not getting pushed out, but we're also supporting artists that are coming in that probably certain groups wouldn't want here.
Yeah, so I don't know what the answer is off the top of my head, but what you're getting at is a really interesting thing that I think we should certainly explore, which is what mechanism or what kind of legislation could we introduce to ensure that artists are getting the kind of resources and funding that they really need. And you learn this in politics very early on, that you don't make promises that you can't keep.
I know.
So I'm not going to tell you on this show, we're going to do this thing. I don't do that.
I respect that.
But what I do is engage with people and say, if you have ideas, let us know. And then what my job is to, like, work with my staff and work with, you know, our policy department to say, how can we make this idea come to fruition?
Yeah.
And what are other cities doing, and how can we make this happen? Because anything's possible. We just have to have the wherewithal to want to do it and the political will to want to do it. And if there are enough people who are advocating for it, you better believe, like, if there's a constituency that's saying we should get it done, that's our job. My job is to be responsive to the people. So if you tell me this is what you want, which is what I do with legislation all the time, when my constituents say we need this done, or we need this kind of legislation, or this law on the books, or we need funding for this, I go out and get it. And it's because there are people in my ear who are telling me that, like, this is an important priority for them. But it's also, like, part of it is I have to be a visionary too and say, like, every single year, at the top of the year, I actually goal set where I say, like, what are the things that I can do around housing affordability? Because it's a huge issue in our city. What are the policies that I can introduce to help that very issue? What are the things that we need to do around our climate or our environment? What do we need to do around, just any issue for that matter? And I mean, we haven't gotten in the weeds about policy, but, like, I can give you a million things that not a million, I shouldn't say that, but, like, I can give you, but I can give you, like, real concrete examples of, like, legislation that I've led and that I've gotten across the finish line that is making a huge difference in our community.
some quick rapid fire questions I wanted to mention since we have you in here as well.
Yeah.
We have the councilman in the building, John. One of them was we have people at right now. A local issue that's happening is Butler Hospital workers are striking from Butler Hospital, and there's an issue where they were questioning whether they were being actually ticketed.
Yeah.
People were being ticketed for their actual strikes, right? And you being a councilman, I wanted to ask you your take on this situation and the validity of this actually happening or not.
It's happening.
Yeah.
I know, because some of those people, they're not necessarily my constituents, but I have relationships all across the East Side, so my phone is ringing all the time about it.
It was ringing right now. Your phone's ringing right now.
Yeah,
It's ringing all the time.
So people are basically, the neighbors aren't happy about it, so they're rightfully so. They're a little angry and upset. So
Are you happy about it?
what happens? Absolutely, I support workers' rights. So like,
Okay.
they need to hold their leadership accountable, and they're fighting for living wages. So yes, like they should be exercising their First Amendment rights, because that's what you do when your employer is not treating you fairly.
Yeah.
And that's what those people are doing. I think the challenge, because this is, and I'm a straight shooter. I'm just going to tell you how it is. The challenge with some of the constituents there is they just feel like it's been, like, the music's been blaring. They're trying to get their kids to bed at night. And so there are like two sides to kind of every story. So I think what has happened is, like, government is supposed to be responsive to people. So what ends up happening in a situation like this is, like, the mayor's office or like the council office will get a lot of calls from the constituents saying, what are we doing to enforce the noise ordinance? And let me tell you, like, East Side people are fierce, right? Like,
No,
they
I
will
know.
literally pull out the ordinance and say, like, this is against the law. And they'll literally threaten to, like, sue the city and say, like, if you don't enforce this, like, we're going to. So it's a balancing act. So you have to make decisions about, well, frankly, right? Like, if a law is being violated, if there's an ordinance being violated, do we enforce it or do we not? And that's a, it's a, you have to be careful about those things. But they did issue a couple tickets to people who were using, like, bullhorns because it was a violation of the noise ordinance. Whether or not you agree with that, that's what happened.
Did you agree with it?
Did I agree with the fact that they got
The ticket?
That they got the ticket? I'll say that I think that they should have had an opportunity to exercise their right. I think there's a difference between, like, residential and commercial zones, which is, like, this is what I was trying to figure out the whole time. Is, like, first off,
That's a commercial zone, isn't it?
no, it's a residential zone. 'Cause-
What? Butler Hospital?
Yeah, but, like, where they're doing the protests is, like, really close to, like, a lot of houses.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting because, like, where the corporate headquarters are, they're actually in my ward. So I think that it would have been more appropriate for them to maybe, like, do all that stuff at the corporate headquarters, and I think that would be more effective at like getting their message across than maybe where they're doing it now. Because right now what's happening is, like, there's a dynamic where they're pissing off a lot of the neighbors, and then it's like that becomes problematic for like all sides, right? So whether you agree or disagree, I think, like, they have their right to do that.
Yeah, because there's people that are they live there, they just care about, it's too noisy, they don't know. Some people just could care less about
And
what's
some
happening.
of those people are valid too. Like, they want their peace and quiet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
some
that's
people
fair.
want their peace and quiet, so, like, that's gonna be the people. And sometimes people, obviously, they know that they have the power of, like, I can call. So it's like they could just also exaggerate the shit or, like, lie, just straight up lie. Because if they call for the complaint, like many times they have, and it's not actually what's going on, they can maybe get some pull. Like I'm saying,
I've done it.
Yeah,
or call the cops or whatever.
And honestly,
the same way people call the cops when nothing's happening.
And honestly, that's government, right? Like, I think, right? Like, when my constituents were calling me about this and saying, like, why are we not, like, why are we not enforcing the ordinance, right? Like, I called the lieutenant and I was like, what's going on down there? I just like want to get a sense of like what is like what's the issue down there? And he explained it to me. He's like, you know, like there's a lot of not happy neighbors and they're really upset and they feel like we should be, you know, we should be enforcing the law here.
Yeah.
And so like, but everyone's trying to do the best that they can.
Yeah.
And I think that like, believe it or not, like if the police department wanted to like be really stringent about it, they could issue a lot of tickets. But I think like they issued a couple to just to basically say like, look, you kind of need to pipe it down. We've given you a couple warnings.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks now, right? Third week,
yeah.
fourth week,
and like
a month almost.
I can tell you, there's some neighbors that are at their like wits' end.
Yeah.
But this is also why it's critically important not to judge, right? Because like you might have a side that you're on, but these things are so complex. There's so many moving parts to these things, and as an elected official, or as just like as a city, right? We have to be thinking about liability too.
Yeah.
Another
question, because I want to keep it going because I don't want to
Yeah.
be here too long. I know you're very long-winded, so I want to get some questions out since we have the opportunity of having you visit us today. The mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, received a lot of backlash because of his visit. Right, he went to Israel. Right, he went to Israel, or was it Israel specifically?
Israel, yeah.
He went on a trip to Israel, and he received a lot of backlash. Especially specifically for the people that are in support of the innocent lives being taken in Palestine. What has been your reaction, or what is your reaction, especially to the feedback that he's gotten? Because I think that specifically, there was a crowd outside of his house specifically for that reason, I believe, that we covered here.
And by the way, the mayor's a constituent of mine, so he's like, I'm his councilman.
Okay.
So
yeah, I remember when he voted for you.
Yeah. So what's your reaction to that specific situation and the local backlash that he's facing?
Well, I think this is, first off, I just want to acknowledge just the sheer humanity of what people are going through, particularly, you know, the Palestinians and just the atrocities that are happening there. Like it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like it's brought me to tears, you know, and I've talked to constituents too who feel like what's happening is just terrible. And I think this kind of goes back to the conversation about like unity, which is we need to be bringing people together, and ultimately I want peace, right? Like that, and I'm sure a lot of people want that. I think the other side of the coin, and I'm not trying to like make any moral equivalencies here or say like one side is right, one side is wrong, but as someone who has Jewish constituents, and I've heard their perspective on this, depending on the perspective, like the response is very different. So some of my Jewish constituents have felt very hurt about the fact that what sparked this in the first place was the October 7th attacks. And this is a very complicated issue. It's actually out of the purview of local politics. So, you know, like I don't think it's my place to opine on this. It's more of a congressional issue. And I encourage people to reach out to their congresspeople and share their opinions on it. But there's a lot of hurt out there, and people are very divided on this issue. And I just want to remind people that regardless of your perspective, you just have to remember, like, our city is made up of all kinds of people. And when those people see things that are symbolic, or when people see things that may undermine the security or the safety of their community, Like, you have to understand that that's like a serious issue. It has serious implications.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into like the nitty gritty. And I don't even know if I should like share this, but you know, like even when there was the flag raising recently, and I'm getting a little teary eyed about this because it's like this like these are people that are impacted, right? Like I remember getting like an internal email from like people who work in the office, and like they were legitimately afraid because like we there's a lot that we can't share, but it's like, you know, there was an email that came through that was like, you know, SWAT is like on standby like a minute away. And there are people literally at City Hall that were like, you know what, like, we don't feel safe coming into work today. Like, those people couldn't go in and do their job for the people because of everything that was going on. And, you know, like, these things are serious, right? Like, there are a lot of crazy people out there who will, you know, send bomb threats or all kinds of things. And, like, this is why this is not a game. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
And like, I would also caution people to not just write people off all the time and say, like, you know, when we're trying to make serious decisions, to not say like, oh, well, like, you support this or you support this, or make assumptions about where someone stands on an issue, because it's so complicated and there's so many nuances to it. And I know that's kind of long-winded, but like, I would just caution people because people call people names all the time. It's just like kind of the nature of just like the beast in social media and politics.
Yeah, people love to offend and disrespect.
Yeah,
online.
And I think that one thing that everyone could certainly learn from, and myself included, is, and this is why I'm very deliberate about the decisions that I make. I really try to take a step back and say, like, how is this impacting all of us? And what are going to be the impacts and the implications of this situation, especially on our local community? And for me, if it's going to create consternation and divide, and it's going to make people in a local community like at odds with each other, I think we're doing them a disservice. And that's, I mean, whether you agree with that or you don't, that's just how I approach it.
And also another local issue that people tagged me in a lot over the weekend was there are family members of actual inmates inside of the ACI corrections that are calling out the ACI. They're accusing the ACI of corruption, right? In a sense. Specifically, I think they're trying to target, they're saying that there's issues inside of the intake, that there's family members of them being mistreated, and saying that they have been beaten up and literally left bloody. This is what they're accusing them of. Today, I think this morning, I want to say this morning, there was actually, they went to visit the ACI. So they're protesting at the ACI. They went to ask questions at the ACI. What is your reaction to this, being a councilman here in this city?
Yeah. I'm trying to find out more about this. And what's kind of fascinating is when I saw this, and this is like so how plugged in I am, right? And just like being a Providence guy, like someone actually gave my number to a person who was like a part of this, right?
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
If you look at my call log, like I literally just had a conversation with this gentleman this evening.
Okay.
Like between meetings, he called me yesterday, and I couldn't get back to his call, and we talked about it. I was like, yeah, what's going on? Like, tell me more about the situation. And like, I think it like this. I didn't know you were gonna ask this, but it's kind of a very serendipitous example of like when you know an elected official or when you can call someone. I mean, like that. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
And like I can't. Again, like I'm not gonna judge the situation because I don't know what's happening, but it sounds like whatever is happening is serious. And he explained the situation to me, and I was like, no way, like that.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy because if they're doing that, that's just like there's it's
That's
just,
insanity.
it's wrong,
Yeah,
right?
immoral.
But we've been hearing stories about the ACI for years. Do you think we should abolish the prison system?
Abolish the prison system?
Yeah, simple question.
That I don't know how simple of a question that is, but but I would say that, yeah, like me being responsive to him, and he's gonna get back to me because he was like, oh, like I still wanna, I shouldn't like share the full contents of the conversation because obviously he confided in me privately about this, but I told him I was like, those sound like very like problematic allegations, and
Yeah.
if
What could the people do? What should the people do? And what would be advice for the people right now who are worried about the situation? Because it's not specifically in your area.
and it's not even in my purview. It's
Yeah,
really a state issue.
But what would
like
be your take? Your professional take as an actual politician in the state
yeah,
of Rhode Island?
so what I recommended is just, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Like there has to be like concrete stuff out there, but it's also like what he's saying is like that sounds terrible. So I just recommended a couple of things to him, and I'm gonna get back in touch with him. And even though it's not in my purview, I think that like government is all about relations. We all know each other, right? Like if I need to call Governor McKee, like I just call him up, right? Like I literally just pick up the phone and call the governor, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all in politics, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and so I want to do a deep dive on this because someone brought it to my attention. And again,
So do you think we should apply pressure on the governor?
no, I'm not saying that because I don't know all the facts,
Yeah.
and I can't jump to conclusions.
Or will you?
But
will
what
you
I
reach
will-
out to the governor maybe off of this?
Yeah,
Just like give
yeah,
him a
'cause-
call.
yeah,
to see,
'cause-
like, hey, do you know about this, or do you know? Have you heard about if this has
Yeah,
this passed your office?
Yeah,
or-
that's probably my next step, right? Like
Yeah.
if I needed to reach out to him, like that's not a problem. I have a good relationship with him. So I mean, and this is not a city issue, but Governor McKee, to his credit, right? Like he's always been very responsive, and part of it is just like I've got a very important district, right? Like Ward 1 is we're the economic engine of not only the city of Providence but the state of Rhode Island, right?
Mhm.
Like I've got the Superman building in my ward, right? Like all the commercial real estate downtown, like East Side, right? Like it's an important. We're an important part of both the city and the state.
100%.
And like when the whole Washington Bridge closure stuff was happening, and like my constituents, that's also my ward, right? Like my constituents were upset about it. It's just like, yeah, I can. That's our job, right? Is to advocate appropriately for our constituents, and like if I need to pick up the phone and call someone, like that's what I'm going to do. So
Yeah.
this is an interesting one. Well, first and foremost, I want to also just like acknowledge like the pain that anyone's going through. I think regardless of whether or not, regardless of like why you're in there, right? Like you're still a human being.
Yeah.
And
Shouldn't be treated like an animal.
yeah, and you still deserve
Yeah.
dignity.
You shouldn't even treat animals that way, the way that this is being described. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's totally unacceptable.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to take things with a grain of salt, but I try to really take people's like word in their perspective at face value, and I think we'll continue to dig into it. And
Yeah, and also if anyone with any connections, like anytime we talk about a topic, always mention this, but if there's anyone with any connections at the ACI, a representative of the ACI, this platform, the doors are always open. If you guys are female, whoever wants to speak, maybe in response to this, you can come up here, because there has been a lot of allegations in the past. But, you know, a post is one thing, but when it comes to legally, you're going to have to need concrete evidence and, you know, to actually have people be like, okay, create a full-on movement, especially if it's just like, you know, one quick post. But I do appreciate everyone that did tag me, because I made sure to talk about it, and we're talking about it now, and we have the councilman here, so I made sure to bring it up to him. So I'm doing my due diligence to the best of my ability, and condolences to any of the family members that are being affected if this is actually going on, because this is disgusting. And I have heard and have seen actual families years ago be affected by this type of situation, mistreatment inside of these facilities directly. So this has happened in the past. So if it's happening again, I think it's horrible. Last question from me. Today we were there earlier. Protests happening. LA protests against ICE, and locally in Providence there were some protests as well. Peaceful protesting, I might add. I shout out to the officers and everyone that was there today. What is Councilman John's reaction to the protests happening right now nationally?
Yeah.
And also regionally, but more importantly, the national one that's gotten the biggest attention because of obviously vehicles being lit on fire, etc. But what is your reaction to the ICE protests, especially after, I want to say, Trump deploying troops, National Guard members to these protests, and the outcry has gotten even larger now?
Yeah. I think it's inflammatory. I think that, you know, Gavin Newsom knows California, Karen Bass, who, you know, I know too, like they know their city and their state. And I think there are a lot of people out there, particularly our immigrant community, that they're afraid. And right before I came here, actually, I did an interview with Channel 10, and you know, there's my statements out there, and it was basically, you know, we're gonna support in Providence our immigrants and our immigrant community 1,000%.
Are you against ICE deporting people? Have they, as they've been in Pawtucket and CF, like they've been literally going into people's homes?
Of course, I'm against that. Like, of course, I'm against that. I think like the way that the federal government is weaponizing ICE and even the National Guard is it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in our community that are feeling very afraid, and rightfully so. And I want to be kind of careful about what I say here, because you've seen what they've been doing to democratic cities, particularly places like Boston, where they've really come. You know, Mayor Wu's a friend of mine, and they've really come down on Boston. And as someone who cares deeply about Providence, like the last thing that I want is for, you know, the federal government to be, you know, putting a spotlight on Providence and saying, you know, we need to go in there.
Yeah, the same way they're doing with Boston. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's me just being protective of our community. But for those who are in the immigrant community, I just want to remind folks, and I think the council is doing a really good job at this, that we have their back 100%. And if they feel fearful, or if they see something that they're worried about, particularly as it relates to this issue, to please reach out to us. And in fact, what we're doing right now is, in partnership with Dorcas International and some other organizations, we're sending folks in our city essentially little cards that show them what their rights are, so that if they're ever approached by an ICE officer, they can exercise their rights. But also, we've been pretty clear about the role and the function of our local police departments. They are not immigration enforcement officers. It is not their purview. So they're not to get involved.
And the city have told this to the police department.
Yes. And there are exceptions, right? Like if there is a violent offender, right? Like that's federal law. There's not much that we can do about that.
But we're still sanctuary city in the sense that the police isn't reporting undocumented immigrants.
We're not proactively doing that work of immigration enforcement, because that's not their job. Our local police department has a role and a function, and it's not that.
Yeah.
And so, everybody knows that. That's pretty clear, at least like in the police department, from the leadership on down. And again, like our job is to also ensure the safety of the residents of our city. And frankly, if you're someone who is here in this country, in our city, you're contributing to the very fabric and mosaic of our community. Our job is to make you feel safe, and that's the police job's, the police's responsibility and job as well. So
and also, John, right, next year, the mayor of Providence next year would be up for re-election, correct? 2026 election year.
Yeah.
Is there a future of Councilman John running for mayor? What do you see yourself? Is this a possible situation for you in the future politically?
I would say that I'm going into my third term, so my goal is to run for re-election. It would be my last term. I'd be term limited. I think I have a lot of work to do, particularly for the residents of the East Side and downtown, which is my constituency, but all across the city. And so what I hope to do is just continue to just like put my head down and do the work. I mean, like, you can go to my website, you can see everything that I've accomplished, and we've accomplished a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's, I also really appreciate like the people who, like, there have been a lot of people who've been, saying positive things where they're like, how hard that guy works, like, like how connected he is to the community, like he's a real Providence guy. Like there's been like such an outpouring of support from people who actually know me too, which has been exciting. For many years, people have said like, you should run for mayor. You should run for mayor. You should run for mayor. My constituents kind of, your home base will always tell you that, right? But sorry, I don't mean to give you a long-winded answer, but it's too premature for me to like make any of those decisions right now. I think like I'm just putting my head down and doing the work. I like recently, I'm doing a 1-year MPA or Master's in Public Administration at Harvard Kennedy School. So like I'm just learning and trying to figure out how I can be the best that I can be. I've been an educator for over 10 years by trade. Brown alum 2 times, right? Like I think I've got a great resume. I'm really from Providence, which is, I think a lot of elected officials can't say that, like really from like the mud, like Providence public schools. And I think what I want for my city is someone who really understands us. And I hope that whether you agree with me or disagree with me or this whole Bhad baby citation issue, whatever, it's like, I hope that this interview also allowed you to see like who I am and like my stripes as a human being and someone who cares deeply about the city. And for me, it's like, how do we just continue to unify, show empathy, show love to, our city, but uplift everyone.
Yeah.
And that's not just like, certain parts of the city, because even though I represent one part of the city, I'm always thinking about Providence.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, this could be a perfect pivot where you know when you gave the citation to Bhad Bhabie, people were in the comments like, "This man doesn't know hip hop. This man doesn't know hip hop." You know, Providence, Rhode Island. What's your top 5 rappers of all time? Do you have a top 5 rappers of all time?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a good one. Wow. Number 1 is Hove. And I've met Hove, believe it or not. And
here in Providence?
Nah, it was actually in Malibu.
Okay.
But
yeah, tell them what your name used to be.
We can get what.
You used to work for a radio station.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the backstory on that at some point.
Well, I also heard, I did hear, I'm not sure if it's true, but I did hear that I heard that you used to also rap. That's what someone told me. I don't know if that. I'm like, well, I gotta ask him. Did he rap?
Back in the day, man. Yeah.
What was your rap name? Did you have a rap name?
I can't remember, man. It's just like shout. This I was probably literally in grade school. But this gives me an opportunity to shout out some really amazing people that like I know in Providence who have been doing amazing work. Fair Price, for example. Okay. Like, you know, D Gomes actually, like, I've known D Gomes since I was a kid. Like we used to play basketball, like Fox Point Boys and Girls Club, Johnny Brito, hook shot. Yeah. You know, like, so when people see this, they're gonna be like, wow, like that's really Providence. Yeah. And like Johnny Brito, shout out to Johnny Brito, the whole Brito family. Like since I've been in office, like we put up statutes. Like my office has funded this because I know how important he is. We put up murals for that guy. Like, but yeah, when I was in college, it's like really interesting. Like we had like a student radio station. And like, you know, I was a part of it, and actually I met a lot of industry people that way because it was like we were talking to a lot of industry people.
He has an interview with Ray Schmurda.
Yeah.
Oh, Ray Schmurda?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, Sway Lee and
Yeah, I was actually a college kid. I was in college. Believe it or not. Wow. And what really kind of got me in that was I met a couple people. So, you know, I mentioned earlier in the interview, so Craig Kalman, the CEO of Atlantic Records, that's actually where he got his start in the industry.
Oh, wow.
So he learned, like, in college, he eventually became the CEO of a company called Big Beat, and then Big Beat was acquired by Atlantic Records, and he's been, like, the CEO of Atlantic Records for, like, 20-plus years. And, like, everyone who's under him is, like, A Boogie signed to Atlantic, Bhad Bhabie, right? Cardi B signed to Atlantic, right? Like, I remember talking to, like, you know, people in the industry about and just about that, and just like when Craig signed her, I was like, congratulations, like that's exciting.
So what university was that then? So that
I went to Brown.
So
Brown.
He was so Craig Kalman went to Brown University.
Yeah, he went to Brown, and
then
here
in Providence.
And the other piece is like,
wow, I didn't know that.
So and this is why like it's so interesting, like the connections here. Like, I'm also good friends with Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill,
the BET Awards are here today.
Former president of BET. Like, me and Stephen, like Stephen also got his start at this radio station
at Brown University.
Yeah, Brown University.
Providence,
oh wow,
wow.
Yeah. Also, Deborah Lee. So Deborah Lee, who is the CEO of BET.
BET, yep.
Also got her start at Brown University. They're all Brown alums, and like
that. The Boondocks episodes make so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was mocking her. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, so these are all people who I've had the privilege and honor of knowing over like the course of my life. And it's just like, dude, I was in my 20s and I was like rubbing shoulders with these people. And actually, like when I was in college, I didn't know what I was going to do. And like, it was those people who were like, oh, like, we'll get you an internship if you want to do one. And when I was in college, I interned for Avery and Monty Lippman at Republic Records. And this is when we just, like, I was in like meetings, like when like we had just signed The Weeknd. and like no one knew what the weekend looked like, and like I knew what he looked like because I was in the room, like, and then Drake, all of Cash Money, Young Money, they have a distribution deal with Avery and Monty Littman through Republic Records, like Lil Wayne, like that's how I met Khaled, like, and like when I tell you about this, like I mean it, right? Like you can give me an artist. Like I'm, like Khaled is still on my phone.
We the best,
right? Like, Meek Mill, like look, and like I'm showing you this because it's like I have like 4 of his numbers because they've changed over time.
No, earlier you showed me like when you showed the J. Cole, you had the J. Cole new, like you have different people's numbers throughout the years. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was just like a surreal experience. It was just like the most surreal, and then I just when I was there, and shout out to like Jennifer Norwood at Republic, like one of my like mentors when I was there. She, like, I remember just like I would sit in her office and like, we would just like, we would. This is like so interesting. Like she'd be on the phone with like Pro Style, or like Angie Martinez, like. Trying to get them to like spin a record or something, and it was just like she'd be on the phone with like the executives at Hot 97, and we would just like I was like going to New York and like commuting back and forth and stuff like that, and we were just like I met all these artists and like.
Safe to say you know your hip hop.
Yeah, I know my hip hop, and then the other piece is like I want to give a shout out to someone who because I can't overlook this, and this is like how so plugged in I am in this industry, and I feel like I'm probably no one knows this about me, and like dude, like I'm opening up a lot of can of worms here, so like Ben Jane. You know who that is?
Ben James, sounds familiar.
So I went to middle school with that kid. We used to literally just like be in like his like basement. And he used to just like make music, like make beats for people. And he ended up. This is the craziest thing. Like I was living in Minneapolis at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So after college, I moved to like Minneapolis, St. Paul, where I was I was an educator, but I was also involved in like some politics there and doing stuff there. And like I remember him calling me, and he was like, "Yo, I just made this record for Rich the Kid." And he was like, "What should I do?" Because like I don't even know. Because he's looking at me because he's like, "You're the smartest kid I know from Providence. Like you went to Brown. Like you know all these people in the industry. Like what should I do?" And he signed a deal with Ryan Press. And I remember like I was giving him advice about like maybe you should like don't sign yet. Maybe you should hold off because like you could really make something big happen. But then like he had a big break. He made that record for Rich the Kid, New Freezer.
He made New Freezer.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar ended up jumping on it.
Wait, the producer of New Freezer is from Providence?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Like, and that's my like we went to middle school together.
Hold up.
And so he hit me up when he released that record, and he's like, "Yo, you won't believe this. I heard New Freezer like
before it came out."
Before it came out, bro. And he was like, "What should I do?" I was like, "All right, like let me like." He ended up signing a deal with Island Records, and like he also produced for. So he produced for ASAP Ferg.
Okay.
So like his catalog is like, he produced what did he produce for ASAP Ferg? I can't even remember the song right now. But it was fire. Like
shout out to Ben. We definitely got to interview Ben.
Yeah, the beat was fire. Well,
yep. Born and raised in Rhode Island.
Yeah, we can call Ben right now.
Yeah, we definitely got to
like
get him on here.
That's my guy.
Yeah, after graduating high school, he moved to Harlem. Wow.
Yeah. So he was
Fire.
he was working with he was actually working with ASAP Rocky, and then after ASAP Rocky, and he was like making like beats for them. Like they were jumping on like his beats, mixtapes, everything. And then like he popped with New Freezer, and then like his whole life changed.
after
Like
that.
he was like they gave him I don't even want to say the numbers. I remember because I was like, look, like he was asking me for advice about like who should I get to manage me? Like, should I sign this contract? And I was like, phew, like this is crazy. Like,
That's fire.
and yeah, so I mean, like, I can't even remember everybody who he's produced for at this point. Like, he's been doing work with like Tizo recently.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work with
No, yeah. If people look up his name, I'm pretty sure they could see the whole discography, especially after New Freezer. That beat
yeah.
alone, I could see his doors opening. It's a no brainer. So shout out to him. That's
I
major.
probably, because I was like on the phone with him when he was doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
like and like giving him advice. I think I have like a New Freezer plaque.
Oh wow,
Like,
fire.
yeah, like so.
A little A&R or like a little EP credit or something.
Yeah. So it's like it's just, and we didn't even dig into all this stuff, but like I'm really like plugged in that regard.
No, that's amazing. Well, to end the top 5, so you got Jay-Z number 1.
Oh, my bad. Damn, we got
number 2.
Number 2, I'm gonna have to go with Nas.
Number 3.
Number 3, I'm gonna have to say Cole.
J. Cole. Okay, that's a good. That's an interesting one. Number 4.
I feel like if I don't go more old school, like the old school people are gonna be in the comments, and I'm not gonna say like a Rakim or like a Run DMC, but like old school for me is probably like if I said Hove and I said Nas, I can't not say Big.
So Big at 4. Who's your 5th?
So last one, yeah.
But and it's not.
Who's your 5th?
It's no dig at Big. I'm just saying like Hove, like you don't know.
Oh no, yeah.
I
have nothing wrong with that.
Who's your 5th? But who's your 5th?
On my way here, bro, I listened to Heart of the City because that's how I was feeling. Right. Heart of the City, though.
Okay.
Real talk. Heart of the City. You know when he?
I love that song,
when he goes. What line am I thinking? I'm thinking like I'm not trying to get sidetracked, but real talk. When he was like, not the male shouldn't be jealous. That's a female trait. When he goes, there's so many lines in that song, bro.
He's a quotable
Not
god.
when he goes, what's the line that I'm thinking? Can you pull it up?
This guy's crazy.
What's
your 5th?
You got to be able to pull it up. When he goes, you don't have it over there?
What?
Let me see.
Vic's pulling it up.
You don't. A Heart of the City.
I got it right here. Let's see. What lyric? So you have y'all sensitive
right
thugs.
here.
Yeah,
Let me
you can
see.
find it right there. Y'all sensitive thugs.
All
Need
right,
love.
yeah, that's a good line though. When he goes, it's the line right before that, where he goes, "Youngins ice grilling me. Oh, you not feeling me? Fine. It costs you nothing. Pay me no mind."
Yeah.
Right, like that's how I was feeling after the Bhad Bhabie citation, where it was like, "Look, I'm on my grind, cousin. Ain't got time for fronting. Sensitive thugs, y'all all need hugs.
Yeah.
Damn, little man, I'm just trying to do me. If the record
Don't sell. I'm trying to
moves something, I'm just trying to move 3.
Yeah. Classic.
What's your 5th?
Number 5.
Okay, but like those are my stripes, right?
Yeah.
5 is a hard one. I'm gonna say, because I said this in the video, and this was just like how I was feeling during the time, and I'm sure a lot of like hip hop people will like resonate with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say, just being like a regional Northeast like dude, I'm just gonna have to give it to Dipset. Like I'm ready.
As a whole group?
So as a collective.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like, remember when that came out?
Bro, I was like 5, I promise you.
No, oh yeah, you're younger than me. Yeah. But like I'm ready.
But we still feel
or like like diplomatic immunity.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. You're showing your, obviously, I would say,
wow,
people would argue probably, oh, it's a East Coast bias, etc. But it's like,
yeah, that is it.
He was
but
born here.
I'm,
like,
I'm
you know
from
what I'm
the
saying?
East Coast.
You're from the East Coast, so it's gonna give that. I do like that though.
The
That's not
Dipset
bad.
anthem.
Yeah, classic.
Like, hold on.
John, you're so annoying. Oh my god. Pause before
We can't play too much of it. We're gonna get copyrighted.
All right,
Yeah.
All right, but like,
Yeah.
there you go. That's Providence.
No, listen.
In my 2-piece suit.
Oh my god.
Listen, we want to thank John for visiting us today.
Yeah, give him a round of applause.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. We appreciate you coming through. Again, reminder to people, this is more constructive always. Conversation. Creating conversation. Discussing things. Meeting. You know, John did call me right after we highlighted the situation with him giving Bhad Bhabie a citation. You know, open line of communication. I think that's a very great thing that we have. So, again, appreciate you. Thank you for coming through today. And, yeah, shout out to everybody in Rhode Island. This was a beautiful moment. We had to have him come through and connect with the people.
I mean, it's the other way around, man. I think what you're doing for Providence, like, you are the epitome of, like, what we need to be seeing in the city. And, like, I
appreciate you.
I mean, you're everywhere, you know? Like, and I'm just so proud of the work that you're doing here. And, like, if there's anyone who should get flowers, man, it's you. So, like,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for all that you're doing to put Providence on the map. And, like,
Thank you.
you're the culture here.
Thank you.
And
where's my citation? You bring a citation? Should have brought a citation for
Oh,
me.
man.
Where's
Another
my
one.
citation?
Oh,
Another one.
man.
Bro,
No,
we have
I-
enough.
hey.
We have enough. Yo,
No,
we have
we
enough.
Oh, well, you already got one.
we don't
But,
gotta
like,
talk
I got
about it,
plenty.
bro.
I got plenty.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
plenty. But
We
thankfully,
good.
thankfully, I got plenty.
You need to get one, though.
Bro, I promise you have enough.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah, he told me he
Yeah.
had 4 too. I'm like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
you got okay, good.
Well, this dude's been
I
on
didn't
my
know he had that many.
campaign. I don't even know if I've given you one.
We gotta get Marlon one.
gotta
Marlon
get
deserves
Marlon
one.
one.
Marlon's never got one. We gotta get Marlon a
gotta get
citation.
Marlon
Marlon
a
Vargas.
citation.
Hey, salute.
I'm good.
Marlon Vargas getting a citation
I
soon.
don't need that. That shit ain't worth nothing. So I'm good.
And that was a clip from our podcast, the Club Ambition podcast. Cap, if you're looking to watch the full episode, make sure to go check it out right now. It's available on audio and also on YouTube.